Hello, and welcome everyone to Cellular Wisdom. I'm Ethan Foster, your resident observer of the human condition. And by human condition, I mean that stage where my knees pop every time I crouch down to pick up a dropped sock.
Greetings, dear audience. I'm Alara Sky, a sharp mind with an even sharper tongue. My primary objective today is to convince you that strength training won't make you look like a powerlifter gone wild, but will give you a real chance to stay vibrant and strong as you age.
Today's episode is all about keeping our muscles from waving the white flag of surrender as the years roll by. We'll be looking at something called sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss, and discovering how lifting a few weights here and there might keep us from toppling over while climbing stairs.
Don't knock toppling, Ethan. It's a major reason that certain chairs have come with warning labels for us older folks. You ever see a recliner that basically begs you not to recline too fast?
I haven't, but maybe I just haven't read the fine print. Now, folks, if you're wondering why we chose the title Doctor, Mercola's Cellular Wisdom, it's because we're exploring how tiny changes in our fitness routine can have surprisingly large effects on those microscopic little structures called telomeres.
Telomeres are like the plastic tips on shoelaces, except you can't replace them at the local shoe store. Once they get too short, the shoelace, aka your chromosome, starts to fray, and that's not exactly the best sign of health. Shorter telomeres have been linked to all sorts of chronic diseases, while longer telomeres are associated with greater longevity.
And in case you're still checking that dictionary, no, telomeres aren't a fancy name for telescopes on boats. These are protective caps at the ends of your chromosomes, and they shorten as we age. Anything that helps keep them nice and long is a friend indeed.
We're diving deep into a fascinating study out of Brigham Young University. They found that moderate resistance training, some call it strength training, had a direct connection to telomere length. If you're big on anti-aging potions and lotions, maybe consider hoisting a couple of dumbbells once in a while.
Which brings me back to sarcopenia. The Alliance for Aging Research indicates that age-related muscle loss affects a good chunk of the population, especially in advanced years. Think about the challenge of just getting out of a chair, something we took for granted in our youth. A significant percentage of elderly folks lose the muscle strength to perform these tasks, which affects balance, mobility, and independence.
Yes, and the numbers aren't pretty. We're talking about 11% of men and 9% of women in community settings, 23% of men and 24% of women who are hospitalized, and 51% of men and 31% of women in nursing homes. Let's face it, we're not exactly an infomercial for unstoppable muscle power in old age.
But there is good news. Strength training puts the brakes on this muscle loss. When you perform resistance exercises, whether using weights, resistance bands, or just your own body weight, you're actually causing tiny tears in your muscle fibers. Your body responds by healing these fibers stronger than before. That's how we adapt.
So if you ever wondered, why am I voluntarily making my muscles sore? The short answer is, that's just your body's version of home renovation, tearing down a wall to build a stronger one, like a never-ending quest to create the perfect open floor plan, but inside your biceps.
Speaking of biceps, let's talk about the part that might actually help keep you young. That Brigham Young University study followed 4,814 adults aged 20 to 69, categorizing them into 3 groups based on how much they performed strength training exercises. The groups were less than 10 minutes a week, 10 to 50 minutes a week, and 60 or more minutes a week.
I love how the first group is basically blink, and you've already spent more time folding your laundry than exercising. But the results were intriguing. Those who trained for an hour a week had significantly longer telomeres than the non-lifters. Not only that, but even moderate training between 10 and 50 minutes weekly had measurable benefits. That's a low barrier to entry, folks.
As a proud member of the Low Barrier Club, I can appreciate that. The researchers noted that telomeres were about 238 base pairs longer for people training at least an hour weekly, and 140 base pairs longer for the moderate group, compared to the non-lifters. To decode that in plain English, you might say that translates to a good few years shaved off your biological age.
It's like discovering that every time you do 10 minutes of squats, a few more of your chromosomal shoelace tips stay intact. That might be the best reason ever to stand up and do a couple of lunges in your living room.
And if you're now thinking, great, I'm going to train like a beast for 10 hours a week and become as immortal as a jellyfish, well, hold your horses. The data suggest there's a sweet spot. Past a certain point, we might see diminishing or even negative returns.
A cardiologist named James O'Keefe found that when it comes to intensity and volume, more is not always better. His research indicates that going beyond roughly 4 to 7 hours of intense training a week can backfire for longevity. Apparently, too much of a good thing morphs into too much, period.
On the strength training side, the sweet spot appears to be around 40 to 60 minutes per week total. You can go a bit beyond that, but once you edge past 130 or 140 minutes of vigorous strength training in a week, the longevity benefits can taper off dramatically and might even reverse.
This is great news for people who dread hour after hour at the gym. We're talking about 20 minutes twice a week, or even 40 minutes once a week if you prefer to get it all done in one shot. Consider that your Get Stronger Without Becoming a Gym Fiend invitation.
So maybe your motto should be, lift smarter, not longer. Your body's like a Goldilocks scenario. Somewhere between couch potato and gym zealot is that perfect bowl of porridge.
For me, the perfect bowl of porridge includes chocolate chips, but that's another story. Now, beyond muscles, there's also the benefit to bones. We lose bone density as we age, sometimes quickly enough to lead to osteoporosis. Weight-bearing exercises encourage bones to become denser. This is based on Wolff's Law, which basically states that bones adapt to the stress we put on them. If you demand more, they rise to the challenge.
By extension, stronger bones mean fewer fractures and better posture. No one wants to be that hunched-over version of themselves by 70, right? And from what I hear, deadlifts with good form are good for bone strength. Though let's be honest, the phrase with good form is crucial. Otherwise, you'll find yourself scheduling extra chiropractor appointments.
Chiropractors might thank you for the extra business, but your wallet might not. Also, let's not forget that muscle plays a role in metabolism. More muscle mass tends to burn more calories even at rest. So as you train and gain muscle, your resting metabolic rate can get a friendly little bump.
Great point. And along with controlling weight, you can also control your blood sugar. Insulin sensitivity improves with more muscle mass, which might reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes. It's like your muscles become guardians of your bloodstream, keeping those sugar levels in check.
It's a team sport between bones, muscles, and metabolism, and the scoreboard reads, health, 1, frailty, 0. Strength training even improves balance and coordination, which is like an insurance policy against future tumbles. I'd like to stand on one foot right now just to demonstrate, but I worry you'd hear me crash in the background.
Well, imagine your perfect graceful pose. And on top of all that, there's evidence for cognitive benefits. Strength training has been linked to better memory, attention, and processing speed. You're not just picking up iron, you're possibly picking up some brain perks as well.
From the neck down and from the neck up, we're seeing synergy. Now, if you're thinking, I can't lift heavy weights or I'm not strong enough to do a bunch of squats, have no fear. There's a method called blood flow restriction, or BFR training, also known as KAATSU. It's basically using bands or cuffs to partially restrict blood flow to working muscles.
That might sound like a scene out of a strange science fiction movie, but it's an actual technique developed by Dr. Yoshiaki Sato in the 1960s. The idea is that by restricting blood flow, you create a low oxygen environment in the muscles, which triggers adaptations, like a surge of beneficial hormones and anti-inflammatory myokines.
The big kicker is that you can achieve muscle growth with very light weights, or even body weight only exercises, because the metabolic stress on the muscle simulates heavier lifting. It's like tricking your muscles into thinking they're in the Olympics while you're using soup cans.
It's especially convenient for older adults or anyone rehabbing an injury because you don't risk the same level of strain on your joints. And apparently, you can do regular daily activities with the bands on. Some folks walk, do light chores, or even send emails while wearing them. Now, that's multitasking.
Next time I see a neighbor folding laundry with big grins of determination, I'll know they might be doing a stealth katsu session. This is how we wage war against sarcopenia without turning our living room into a gym fortress.
We should probably talk about protein, because you can do all the strength training in the world, but if you're not giving your body the building blocks it needs, you're shortchanging your gains. Adequate protein intake, especially from animal-based sources, makes a huge difference in muscle repair and growth.
Protein is basically the raw material for muscle. If you want your biceps to be that brand new brick wall, protein is the pile of bricks. Most adults need around 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of ideal body weight. Your ideal weight, not the weight you might see on the scale if you went a little too wild at the dessert buffet.
So if your target weight is 135 pounds, which is about 61 kilos, you'd need roughly 49 grams of protein per day as a baseline. And many adults need around 30 grams of protein in each meal to really jumpstart muscle protein synthesis. Kids obviously need less, somewhere around 5 to 10 grams per meal.
And don't forget collagen. 1/3 of your total protein intake should come from collagen-rich sources, like bone broth or collagen supplements. That provides an amino acid balance that benefits not just your muscle tissue, but also connective tissue, ligaments, cartilage, the works.
Speaking of cartilage, that stuff comes in handy when you're trying not to creak every time you turn around. Now, combining enough protein with moderate strength training is how you stay at a healthy weight, keep your blood sugar in line, and support bone density.
There's a beautiful synergy in all these pieces. We have sarcopenia looming on one side, but on the other side, we've got a simple plan. Incorporate resistance exercises in a moderate dose, consider advanced techniques like BFR if you want to amp it up, and feed your body the protein it needs.
We should highlight the idea that you don't need a fancy gym membership. Bodyweight exercises like squats, lunges, push-ups, and rows can provide plenty of resistance to get started. The key is consistency. Gradually increase your challenge, maybe adding light weights or resistance bands when bodyweight moves become too easy.
And if you're the type to say, I can't even do one push-up, remember there are modified versions. Wall push-ups, countertop push-ups, or kneeling push-ups work too. Any small step is better than no step at all.
That's the same logic I use when I only do half my chores. Better half than none, right?
I suspect your family might dispute that, but sure. Now, if you're listening and thinking, I'm not a fan of weights, I'd rather run or do yoga, that's wonderful. Cardio and flexibility are crucial components of overall fitness, but dedicating a bit of time each week to resistance training can pay off in ways that pure cardio can't.
Right, we're not saying yoga and cardio are worthless. We're just pointing out that adding a few sets of resistance moves might slow the clock on your telomeres. And that's a fancy way of saying it keeps you biologically younger than your driver's license suggests.
Think of it as an age-defying trick that doesn't involve questionable creams or potions. This is about building real resilience in the body. It's also a brilliant remedy to that dreaded I've fallen and I can't get up scenario.
Now, I have to admit something. Whenever I think about muscle strength in older adults, I picture that viral video of an 80-year-old grandmother bench pressing her body weight. She's living proof it's never too late to start.
But you don't have to be an Instagram sensation. An extra push-up here, a little extra squat there, is enough to make a difference. If you can train around 10 to 50 minutes a week, you might already be reaping those telomere benefits. And if you can handle about an hour a week in total, you're sitting pretty in that sweet spot.
We should also emphasize that the older we get, the more important this becomes, because sarcopenia can sneak up on you. One day you're bounding up the stairs, the next, you're hesitating at the second step. Consistent strength work helps keep that bounce in your step.
Plus, a lot of day-to-day tasks get easier, carrying groceries, lifting up grandchildren, or pushing open heavy doors without feeling like you're wrestling with a medieval drawbridge.
There's a mental boost in all this too. When your body feels stronger, your mood tends to perk up. You might find you're less anxious about physical limitations and more ready to tackle new challenges, whether that's gardening, dancing, or exploring a new hobby.
So, if you're listening and thinking, but where do I start? Just remember, small steps. Do a few bodyweight squats after you wake up. Try some push-ups against the wall before bedtime. Or get a pair of light dumbbells and see how many bicep curls you can do while you watch your favorite show.
And if you're adventurous, look into Katsu or other forms of blood flow restriction training. It might sound intimidating at first, but it's a powerful way to get results without going heavy. It's especially beneficial if traditional weightlifting isn't feasible for you.
And don't forget to fuel those freshly worked muscles with protein. That 0.8 grams per kilogram of ideal weight is a good baseline. Many experts recommend around 30 grams of high-quality protein in each meal for adults to really spark muscle protein synthesis.
And let's be honest, there are plenty of tasty ways to hit that protein goal. Eggs, fish, lean meats, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, or that beloved collagen-rich bone broth. The culinary options are vast, so no need to just stare at a plate of boiled chicken every day.
I'd like to note that adequate protein also helps with satiety. So if you're trying to avoid those late-night snack cravings, a protein-rich dinner can help keep the fridge raids to a minimum.
Which is good because rummaging through the fridge at night can lead to questionable sandwich decisions. That's how I ended up with peanut butter, banana, and leftover spaghetti on one slice of bread. Not my proudest moment.
You're walking proof that sometimes we all need a bit more discipline. In any case, folks, that's our deep dive into how strength training ties into biological aging, telomere length, and overall vitality. Keep it moderate, keep it consistent, and feed your muscles with proper nutrients.
I hope today's discussion helps put you on the path to a stronger, healthier future. If you're feeling a little overwhelmed, just pick one or two tips and ease them into your routine. As Alara often says, Rome wasn't built in a day, but it probably had decent muscle mass after a few squats.
I should get that phrase trademarked. In all seriousness, remember that by investing a little time each week in resistance exercises, you're investing in your independence down the road. Think of it as stashing longevity points in the bank, except the interest rate is measured in base pairs.
Telomeres, folks. Keep them long, keep them strong, and don't forget that sweet spot. We're not trying to set Olympic weightlifting records. We're just trying to walk steadily into our 8th or 9th decade with confidence.
So get out there, pick up something heavier than your TV remote, within reason, and send your cells a message. We're not done here yet. On behalf of Ethan Foster and yours truly, Alara Sky, thanks for tuning in to Cellular Wisdom. May your muscles and your telomeres thank you for it.
Until next time, stay curious, stay strong, and remember, it's never too late to add a little iron to your life. Thanks for listening to Cellular Wisdom, where we believe real wisdom lies not just in your head, but in every cell of your body. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye for now. Go grab a dumbbell or two, or maybe just do a couple of squats to celebrate. We'll catch you soon.